it was like Wolf of Wall Street. We're banging phones. I mean, it's loud, it's rowdy.
How are they positioning it? How are they branding it? What are they pricing it at? You have no idea the amount of times that people have gone undercover on us.
AKA Jason Smith.
A lot of the dormant parts of your psyche get unlocked.
Okay.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Well, welcome back to the Venture Hustles podcast. This is Saj.
I'm Jack.
Nice. Well, welcome for joining us again. If you haven't listened to us before and this is the first time you're listening to our podcast or watching us on YouTube, we're Saj and Jack. We are entrepreneurs and business owners in the tech space. We've been in this space for almost a decade now, and we've done a lot of things that we've experienced. Some ups and downs, and
Definitely.
This podcast is our journey, documenting what we've experienced, and a lot of things that we're doing actively, and our knowledge, our insight, and our feedback. And we also bring in some guests from time to time.
Yeah, we do. And just kind of build off of what Saj had said. If this is your first time tuning in, we appreciate you. And ultimately, from our experiences and tips and tricks that we mention, hoping it'll help you in your journey as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. So how are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing good. It's been a crazy week, but a good one. And I'm looking forward just to kind of hanging out.
Nice. You always say it's been a good week. I like hearing that. That's positive vibes.
PVO.
Yeah. It's definitely been a very hectic week. Now we're kind of we're filming this episode on the Friday right before Memorial Day weekend.
Yep.
So we're super excited for the long break.
Yeah, and for those listening, I mean, depending on when this is released, hope you have a good Memorial weekend, spend time with some friends and family.
I think this is going to release on this coming Wednesday, so I think that's super
Perfect.
relevant timing, right?
Awesome.
We're hoping to get some much needed R&R on our side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are you looking forward to the long weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But getting back to things now, today we wanted to cover, I would say personally, one of my favorite topics, the art of sales.
The art of sales. This is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite topics we are ever going to cover.
Yeah.
I say that because both you and I are very experienced salesmen.
Yeah.
Sure. We've done a lot of things in the sales world, and we've been in a lot of different avenues,
Yeah.
Yep. And we constantly do that at our current job and our current day-to-day. So I love sales.
Yeah, I mean, it's, sales can do a lot, not even just from, taking it outside of just your job, even for a personal growth standpoint. So, I guess what you can expect to learn or to listen to in this video would be, what is sales? Obviously, why is it important? What does it mean to sell? Integrity-based selling, which I think is from a priority list standpoint at the top.
For us, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of different types of sales, and I would say the importance and the power of sales, the ability to just personally, what do you unlock when you know you can sell? I think that was really vital for me in my journey.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, so I guess to start us off, I mean, Saj, what is sales?
What is sales? I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory from a definition perspective. Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
But I think for me, I think sales is really important if done ethically.
Of course.
Ethical sales is my motto. And the reason why I say this is before I got into sales personally, I was always turned off by the idea of sales.
Okay.
I always was super turned off by the idea of like, oh, schemy salesman, their sales tactics are unethical, and pretty much all the negative traits that you think about when you think sales was a big no for me. And when I say this is because I didn't come from a hardcore like family sales background, right? I came from like an educational background, even from a work perspective. That's what I was doing, and it was for me, it was a natural transition between tech and sales, and that was the approach that I implemented, or at least I took, which was educational sales and ethical. And might sound boring, might sound lazy, not Grant Cardone, but that's just my style, and that's just what I personally like to do business. Like that's how I like to do business.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's a much difficult route. It's always harder to sell the truth than sell lies.
Yes, I mean, without a doubt. Yeah, I would agree with that.
But you also get to sleep really nice at night.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I would say, for me, I'm definitely on the completely other side of the spectrum there.
To you?
Well, I mean, from meaning, I mean, I think it means for me like two or three things. Number one, delivering a service or a product in exchange for obviously dollars, right? That's the transaction. But also with sales, and I think what some people, might miss is the ability to grow your network and relationships with your clients.
Well, are you able to do that in every walk of life when it comes to sales? Like not in all avenues of sales. Is that possible?
I think so. I would say for most.
Well, if you're selling knives door to door, how does that work?
I mean, if you are able to have a good connection with that person, you never know what can happen.
I agree with you. You never know what can happen, but I also think it depends. Like, first of all, I think I agree with everything that you're saying. Right?
Yeah.
You just said in terms of like obviously being able to sell. I mean, that's why I started off by saying self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I didn't want to dive into like that, but
we have to go with definitions.
I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah,
that's for sure. But I also, because I've been in companies before where I've done sales for, and I wasn't the CEO or I wasn't any high level exec. Yeah. For me, the experience was vastly different.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as like a younger guy, I mean, one of my first, jobs ever was a pure sales guy. I knew from the start.
How pure? Tell us.
Huh?
How pure?
Pure, where there was, I would say about 30, let's say 25 guys on the sales floor, like 2 girls and, or 2 women rather. And it was like Wolf of Wall Street. We're banging phones. I mean, it's loud, it's rowdy. We're doing blasting music. I mean, it was a great experience, I would say.
So it was a good experience.
It was a good experience to learn a lot. At a super young age, I was dealing with large clients, small clients, big problems, small problems. It was just overall a really good experience at such a young age. At my first sales job. Are you at liberty
to say what you were selling?
Yeah. Okay. And for all the guys that might listen to this that would join me in that crazy environment, I was selling. So this was back in 2016-ish. I was selling vape liquid.
Nice.
And CBD.
Okay. So this was when CBD was definitely popping.
This is when CBD was really starting to become very, very popular. For those who don't know what CBD is, essentially you can almost think of it as like a cousin of weed or marijuana. It doesn't get you high, but it has a lot of the medicinal effects, when it comes to like inflammation. I think that's one of like the
muscle
best.
Recovery athletes use that for
exactly.
muscle recovery. Yeah.
So it was a very pure experience. I learned from the jump, what to do, what not to do. And overall, just making these calls, dealing with rejection, and
was it B2B sales?
It was B2B sales. Yeah. So you're calling smoke shops and things like that.
We should probably explain B2B and B2C.
Yeah. So B2B would be business to business. So using this as an example, we created these products and I was calling other businesses to sell my products. On the other side of the coin, you have B2C. So that would be a business selling
Directly
products
to
to consumers.
Should we mute that guy?
Yeah, I mean, for those watching YouTube, I'm going to get up right now and I'm going to mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the brief pause, intermission. Emil, we can keep rolling. It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll keep. Yep. There we go. We got Emil in the back. Shout out Emil.
Shout out.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for like a business meeting or something.
No. My computer here is like making I'm getting some messages here. But, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm glad you brought that up. Definitely two different distinctions, and like from a technique perspective, some things you might want to change.
Technique, approach, branding. There's so many things, right? Like we're talking about a lot of things that would change when you're doing B2B or B2C.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other terms for this, but that's how I commonly at least refer to it.
I would say, like, above all else, before we kind of start going through like some of the main points you want to cover, for me, if you're a young guy or girl, you want to be a business owner one day, you have a lot of, dreams and aspirations, my number one recommendation would be to get involved in sales as quickly as you can, really for two main reasons. Number one, you'll learn very quickly how to deal with rejection and how to communicate and talk with people, which is absolutely vital in the business world. And then number two, you'll probably make some good money. And, it's a good experience to complete that first transaction and then being able to deliver on the back end.
Yeah, I love that you said that because you met my nephew who came in to the office the other day.
Yes, I did.
And he's like he went to school for like electrical engineering and and just he got a job and I was talking to him when I went that day that you met him. I took him out to like coffee.
Okay.
Or like get bubble tea.
Little coffee day?
Yeah.
A coffee date?
And he was this kid's like so intelligent, right? Like super smart. His name is Furkan. Shout out Furkan. If you're watching or listening. But this kid is like, I love this kid because like he's so talented and so he's such an intellectual. Like you've only met him for a very short period of time, but he's constantly thinking. So like we're at the coffee shop and we're at the boba shop and he's like, we were talking about what his end goal was and he was like, hey, eventually I kind of want to like figure out a way where what I'm doing and I turn it into my own business. And that's not the typical mindset for someone that's like about to like get a 9-to-5 and it's like he's already got all that under check. He's done all the checks and balances. He's tried to do everything as right as possible. Throughout his like college career and college life and future career. So it was crazy. He's thinking about investment and stuff like that. So I told him about sales, and I was telling him, I was like, honestly, at the end of the day, that you're gonna have a different angle when it comes to like sales. And he was talking about like sports and whatnot, but you get good at sales, you can pretty much get good at anything. You can market and promote and sell anything. You will never be you will never be struggling or hurting financially in your life, I think, if you can master the art of sales.
I without a doubt agree.
This is what I told him. And like he's super young. You met him and he's like but
I mean it's good he's like that's kind of where his mind is, so
he's thinking like that.
For sure. So I mean why so I think that might be a good time. Like why do you think sales is so important?
So for me personally, I think sales is the lifeblood of every company. You can have a brilliant genius product if you don't position or brand it right, or if you're not exploring the right lead outlets or avenues, you're not marketing it properly, you don't have the right people handling your incoming leads. Any of these things can go wrong. You can't operate without sales, without a concrete sales plan. If you sell physical products, and now in the age of, in the world, into 2020 era, this decade, right? In the digital era, the video marketing promotional era, the TikTok, Snapchat era. If you have a cool physical product, I talked about this in a previous episode. Tell me if you disagree, right? But like if you have a crazy niche, gimmicky product like that can go viral, that does the sales for you. You can literally automate $1 million a month for an entire year without needing anything. You can set up a fulfillment center based off of that automatically takes care of your orders, your incoming orders, your shipping. You're just making passive income. But for products that have a lot of that covered don't need that help. But if you're in a competitive environment or an industry that requires you to think outside of the box, what am I doing differently from my competitors? What is our intellectual property? What is our value proposition? Then 100% you need to be able to make sales a main focus. You know, what is going to be the angle? Who's going to be your closer?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all these things need to kind of like put into place.
For sure.
And for us, for our experience, I think, from our experience at FFP, sales is a very unique angle. It's not your typical company that you're used to or that I came from. Like, so you were talking about the CBD and the vape company. My last experience, that was not my company in a sales position and capacity, was at a debt settlement company.
Nice.
So like
that was fun, I'm sure.
Oh man. But I could tell you that was really, really difficult.
Yes.
But it was very, very different.
Yes.
And it was super different from what you did.
Yeah.
It's also incredibly different from what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But I think that what we're doing right now is one of the hardest things that you can sell.
Yeah, I mean, you know, also something to take into account is it's a very big difference in learning curve for someone that's selling low ticket items and then, you know, high ticket items. What I mean by that is it's much different to sell something that is $20 or even $500 compared to something that is $5, $10, $20, $100,000. Very different kind of feel there for sure. But again, either way, no matter where you start, definitely really good experience, I think. And it will definitely, like, I would say overall why I think sales is so important is because you're really able to work on like yourself, how you communicate, whether it's how you dress, whether it's how you speak to people, how you understand people, how you are able to move through objections when someone doesn't agree with you, deal with rejection, someone's straight up just saying no. And then also what I think is sometimes forgotten about is like the follow-up game. Someone doesn't answer you. Follow up. There's been so many times.
I mean, there's a science to it, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you also have to, like, I think you have to determine, like, what is your end goal? Like, what is it? Or if you do not have one, are you kind of just, you know, hanging on to the handles and letting life, you know, kind of do whatever it's doing?
Yeah.
Or do you have a goal to scale and blow up your company? Like, if that's the goal, then sales has to be at the center of it all, and has to fuel pretty much every other thing that you're doing within the company.
Yeah.
And for me, that has always been a main focus. Like every single, like since you've been part of the company, that's been something that's what we talk about every single day.
Pretty much.
Introducing new services. How does that fit into the sales cycle? Yeah, man. I mean, it's so important. It's vital.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have any money coming in the door, then not, you know, this might be hard to hear, but not sure how long you'll be around. You know, that's just the reality of things, right?
Well, but that's the thing, right? I think it's important to determine, and I don't know if we're going to go off topic here, but I think it's important to determine the type or the categories and the amount of work needed to effectively sell. If
like what the workflow is?
Well, yeah, because you were talking about big ticket items, right? It's very different when you're selling $20 items and $200,000 items,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And we're in the big ticket world because we're creating custom tech. But I want to tell you, one of the people, like somebody in my network, sells big ticket items. Has an entire sales team dedicated to that just sell one piece of white label technology.
Okay.
And that's all they sell. But the effort of what it takes to sell that is significantly less than for us. Even if we're selling big ticket items, like $50,000, whatever it is.
Because it's white labeled?
But no, that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
The onboarding, the training process is so different, so vastly different.
Yeah.
And the reason is like they're just basically relabeling it for the customers that are coming in, and that's really the entire business. But I don't say this just for tech. I think if you're in the custom professional services business, like unless you're the most expensive item that you're selling is $5,000, I think you're going to have to plan it and map it out and just map out the entire sales flow like, from start to finish.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, and normally like where the difference lies is the amount of thought that a potential customer is going to have to go through, like that decision-making process when trying to buy your product, right? So, a potential customer, or even like for myself, I'm going to think a lot more about how I'm spending this $50,000 aside from maybe 2,000 or 200.
Yeah.
Right. So that kind of goes to your point where that process needs to be a little bit more, let's say, in depth. You got to make sure your T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and just make sure that, you're in a good place.
So I think one of the things I wanted to talk about was how do you go about setting something up?
What do you mean?
Like setting a sales team? Like if you're small,
Okay.
I'm a big fan of giving like visual examples as much as possible,
Okay.
just so it's more relevant to maybe somebody that's in the same position as us, that used to be in the same position as us.
I would say, it's definitely dependent on like the industry, for sure, and like the kind of service or product you're offering. I mean, there's a couple ways that, that you could go about that. I would say the first two ways that come to mind is you have one guy or 8 guys, but from a sales cycle standpoint, you have one person that's going to be the intro, going to be the follow-up, the closer, and then delivering, or facilitating the service, right?
Yeah.
That kind of be, format one. Another format that comes to mind for me is you have your opener, you have your closer. So 2 different people. So you're going to have a guy that's going to call and book an appointment for the quote unquote closer, who would be the guy that's going to come in, or girl, that would come in and pretty much, cash the check, sign the deal.
Well, I agree with you. I think they're different. I mean, you're talking about more like traditional formats.
Yeah.
But I think not
I didn't
everybody's going to be able to.
Go
Well,
ahead.
no, it's more of like what you're talking about is a little bit further down the road.
Okay.
Like more advanced. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like what I was asking for more was like, how do you, even if you just had to start, how do you start? Like if you don't know where to go, if your goal is to set up to scale your sales team, what's the base foundation? Like let's just say it's you, and because like in order to pull off what you're saying, you need to at least be generating like $200,000 in a yearly revenue.
Yeah.
Like at least.
I mean, if it's just you,
Let's say you're a co-founder. Let's just say there are a lot of people wearing a lot of hats. There's like 3-4 people.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are probably like at that early stage, correct?
Yes.
That's the. So let's say 3-4 people.
I mean, I think obviously one of the first things is you have to know what you're selling, right? A price point that makes sense. Typically if you're new, your price point might be a little bit, under the normal, because that will kind of be your way of incentivizing customers to work with you.
Yep.
But then outside of ironing that out, I would say one of the most important things is just going to be like the flow of the actual sale, and then also like the workflow after that, or even during it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to follow-ups, where am I logging this stuff in? Where am I logging customer information in? And then once the deal closes, what happens next?
Yeah.
Right. And in today's age, like it might not even be that simple as when the deal closes, right? Because if you're, at a company and you're dealing with people or customers are across the world, the country, right? What kind of software are you going to use to sign contracts? What kind of software are you going to use to process, invoices, right? Those are all things that you have to be figured out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with pretty much everything you said. And I think for me, right?
For you.
For me. And I think we're on pretty much the same page, but I think I have a more like if let's say me and you are starting something, right? And we have a super cool idea within it's something, professional sales company, professional service company. And we're like, all right, we're the closers. We know what we're about to sell and pitch to people.
Yes.
The first thing I would do is I would basically do some high level market research on the competitors. Competitors. Sure. Scope out the landscape and see what others in your shoes
are
offering. How are they positioning it? How are they branding it? What are they pricing it at?
Yeah.
What does their cycle look like? I would even say, and this is one of my favorite things to do, and you probably know, is go undercover. You might think it's unethical, but you have no idea the amount of times that people have gone undercover on us.
AKA Jason Smith.
all day, every day.
Oh man,
But
that's
go
so
undercover.
good. Yeah,
And
I mean,
it's and the reason, and we're not telling you to do this. We're just telling you that this is an option that if I'm in that position and if I'm starting something fresh and I believe in it and I know what I'm going to sell, I'm leaving no stones unturned.
yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you're wasting that person's time a little bit, but at the end of the day, you understand what the cycle is going to look like from start to finish. How do they operate? And also another thing is, it'll automatically display identifiers of what you're doing right that they're not doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then things are going to start standing out.
Yeah.
No, like let's say you're offering something completely different, a lot better than what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
You can emphasize on that.
Yeah.
And also just like, what are you doing wrong that you can do better?
Okay.
And just polish it up. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would do during that whole research phase. I'd probably take about a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, as long as you really need until you're comfortable, and be able to map out the landscape and then start creating, what is the visuals going to look like when it comes to what's the first thing people are going to see when they land on the site, and or who do they contact? What's the main point of contact? Who are they calling? What is the pitch they're seeing?
Yeah.
What
is the pitch that you're saying?
What is the pitch that you're saying? 100%. Create a dummy sales script, Vital. Write out different possibilities. If the customer says A, what do you respond to with A and B? And just create something from scratch. Use Google Drive. Type it up on a document. It doesn't have to be a crazy software you need to use. You don't need to use anything else.
Google Sheets, Google Docs, all you need.
I mean, everything can be done free. Honestly, this is how pretty much every one of my businesses were created. I didn't spend $20,000 on all these custom solutions.
These softwares, yeah.
You do all
and
this
we're in the
for free.
software business.
We're in the software business. So then I would create like a sales pitch, and once you know what your lead system is going to look like, right? That's whether that's online ads, digital ads, or you're working with a lead company, or SEO, whatever it is, and you know what your incoming or your outgoing, whether it's cold calls even, right?
Yeah, I mean, a cold call, right? And to clarify, a cold call is you're calling someone that has no idea who you are, no idea why you're calling, no idea what you're offering. And then you might have like a warmer call or warmer lead or hot lead that
they know who you are,
they're
reaching out,
and what you're selling, what you're offering.
Yeah, and then once you figure that out and you know where your customers are going to be living at, or how they're going to reach out to you, or they reach out to them, you hit them with the pitch, and then pretty much, I mean, it's just a more elaborate version of what you said. But once you end up, figuring out where are you logging these customers, hot tip, if you don't know what HubSpot is, use HubSpot. It's completely free.
Yeah. It's called a CRM.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a place where you manage, all of your
customers. And like your clients, your incoming leads, you can basically log in every single call that you had. So let's say you talk to 1,000 people in a week, right? Or 100 people in a week.
Anything over 50, it's like I don't remember what John specifically said. And in sales, the little things matter, right? So let's say you spoke to John on Monday, right? Let's say I'm discussing with John his app, right?
Yep.
And John told me that, call went well, and have a follow-up with him on that Friday, right?
Yep.
And I tried to schedule it on Wednesday, but he said, no, I can't. My daughter's graduating, right?
Yeah.
That's something you want to write down, because when you call him on Friday,
yeah.
You can say, hey, John, how are you? This, that, and the third. I hope on your daughter's graduation on Wednesday went well.
Yeah, I think
that means a lot.
We should cue this up with our team. That's a good pointer.
At the end of the day, especially for me in sales, being different, you care, you remember the small details, typically mean all the difference.
So important. You
want to imagine that this guy is talking to 3-4 people. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if
how
you're
are you going to
about
stand out?
100%. I mean, you're gonna if when you're an effective company and you've got your system on lock, you're gonna be talking to hundreds of people per month. One of the people on the sales team, in our sales team, we were talking to, and we were telling them, the client said something really weird, but it stood out, and he wasn't really writing the note. And I said, write that down, because you know what? You're not going to remember who he is a week from now, but that one detail is going to instantly give you, because that was such a vital, weird little thing that the client said. Put that down in your HubSpot notes,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would figure out where the lead cycle is going to be monitored. For the sales cycle is going to be monitored. Like, incoming lead, in progress, in contact, potential to close, closed. You can monitor all of these things using HubSpot.
I mean, it's just about being able to track
or any other
this
CRM.
information. I mean, and then once it's really developing that system. Systems have to be followed, have to be created, have to be put in place so that not only you, but your team is effective. And then you, as let's say an owner, administrator, whoever, you can now look at this information, look at this data, and then see, okay, I've been doing this for 4 weeks, 6 weeks. How can we do it better? How can we optimize?
I think not only that's like super important, but not only that, but also just making sure you're not losing money.
Yeah.
You will lose so much money
by not
if you're
following up, slipping through the cracks.
Yep.
Okay.
Like if you don't have reminders of if the guy told you, you know what, I'll be good in 10 days. To him, he might be serious about it. For you, that's bond. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you honestly have to treat everything really, really serious if you want to make sure you're not losing out a 10K client or 20K, 100K, whatever. You never know the amount of times. I mean, I've lost count the amount of times that we've talked to clients 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, and they come back because we left a good impression. They just weren't ready at that time, and we touched base.
I mean,
and we've closed
insane. I would say, like, if you're a new sales guy, or even if you're a seasoned one or sales gal, schedule the appointments, like not verbally, like use Google Calendar, use Calendly. That means a lot to people, like not only for yourself, but like to the clients. Like, okay, this is in my calendar now. This is serious.
I mean, again,
it's
Google Calendar, completely free. Make that a part of your regular habits every single day. Let's say you figure all this out, where are you going to sign the contract? What you were saying before, like let's say that's a final step. How are you sending your invoice? If you sign up to an invoicing company and you pay a $30 a month fee, it makes you seem more professional when you're sending in an invoice that automatically comes from it's more legit, right? Because they verify your company. They see that you're a legit LLC or S Corp or a C Corp. You have to go through these identity checks to even sign up to these invoicing companies. Like Square Up or Stripe or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
so many. There's gazillions. But it just makes you more professional. It makes you more cleaner and more polished unless you have presentation. Then you sell. And let's say you've got your first close, you've got your first 10. The most important thing that you can do is, what does your post-close habits look like? What do you do after? And of course, if it's project management, that's different. But
customer service is where we're going with this, it seems like.
Recurring sales with long-term clients and relationships built. And also, if you're figuring that out, you got to figure out how can you efficiently service the client and then move on and do the same thing. And this is how you scale, right? It's essentially sales being at the center of it all, and then how you scale the business. Yeah, step by step,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, this is a great segue, right? Because let's say you do close that deal, everything is, what's the term I'm looking for? It is sunshine and butterflies, right? Now, what happens when there's a delay? What happens when maybe you've sold that product, you don't have it anymore? What I'm getting to is sometimes sales isn't all happiness and sunshine. There's going to be times where you're going to have to deal with difficult conversations with your clients. And that is a very important aspect, I think, of sales if you want to become a master, but then also being able to retain long-term clients. Because at the end of the day, you could just lie and not be transparent. But at the end of the day, it will catch up to you.
I think the best thing to do is be transparent.
Always
set expectations right. Don't overpromise anything.
Yeah.
What's the phrase? Under promise, over deliver.
Yes, under promise, over deliver.
It couldn't be more true.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like what you're saying is more applicable if it's important for whoever that main closer is for them to be like if they're still going to get commissions from it, or if they're still going to get some benefit being in that client's life, right? If that's like, for example, there's long-term benefits of within that sales cycle to be the main point of contact. But a lot of companies, they don't have that, right?
Yeah, it's just customer service stuff.
Yeah. It's like product delivery. But if that is applicable to you, then what you do after matters a lot. I mean,
100%.
A lot of our business, not so initially, but more so lately, has been, big chunk of our revenue comes from recurring clients, from clients that have been working with us for years and years, and this is the type of relationship that you'd want to build.
100%. And I think even if, let's say, you're not having difficult conversations, like another thing that I think sales brings to the table is improving your ability to like problem solve, because you're always going to you're constructing the deal. You're figuring out, okay, I have X, right? How am I able now to package this in a way where it makes John happy and he wants to move forward with me? These are all just, I think, overarching like skills that you need like in life, honestly,
100%. But I think in that when you're doing the content prep stage and you're kind of going through that phase, I would say just, I think the most effective methods of sales that we've seen is when we've packaged products or services that we're selling. That's like bite-sized, easy for the customer or the consumer to be able to just understand without you overwhelming them with a crap ton of information.
Yep.
Where they see it very clearly that this is why I'm going to choose you guys over XYZ competitors. It all needs to make sense, right, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the name of this book that I read about sales. It's by Chris Voss. Chris Voss, shout out Chris Voss, really smart guy, down to earth, but he used to be an FBI negotiator, and he wrote a book on sales. It's called Never Split the Difference. Mm-hmm. Really good book. Would highly recommend for sure. If you're a guy or a girl that wants to get into like the psychology of like talking with people and closing people and just overall communication, that is definitely something you want to read for sure. One of the better books I've read about sales. I very, very much so enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Learned a lot.
I would second that.
You would second that?
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of really good,
there's a ton, but
so many good resources. It also gives you perspectives into different industries and different approaches.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any set rules. I want to make this very clear, at least from where I stand, right? Okay. I think when it comes to sales, you're making your own rules, man. I think that's how I operated. I didn't really look when I was creating my first two companies, whatever, even now, the last company, I wasn't looking at rule books or just like following what's typically done. The way like at FFP and the way we do sales is, I would say, has been completely our own. And what it was morphed into has been completely our own. And we created our own set of rules and own path. Those became our own rules and our own systems. Yeah,
for sure. I think everyone, like whatever you do, you always put your own touch on things. And maybe where we might differ is I'm also a big fan of seeing what's out there and really just putting my own twist on it and making it better.
100%.
Just understanding that.
Like the market research. But more so like I wanted it to be my main goal with FFP was packaging what we have in a more innovative way. Mm-hmm. And just having it be more presentable differently than what people already see, which can be very confusing and overwhelming. But I digress. I think one of the things we were going to talk about was, what does it do for your personal life? Like being able to like sell or, like what would you say?
I would say from a confidence standpoint, for the salespeople out there, the reality is there's nothing like closing a deal, right? A contract sign, money in the door, definitely a rush of adrenaline, right? But like outside of that, confidence and then overall like being able to communicate with people. I think like in our world today, that is one of the most important skills I think that anyone could learn and attain and be a master at. Yeah. Even if you're a guy like talking with girls, let's say, or talking, having a conversation with your boss about whether it's getting a raise or you want to leave or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I think that starts with sales, and that is definitely a good place for you to kind of hone your skills and perfect your craft, if you will.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think it really unlocks certain layers of your personality,
Yes.
certain layers of your mindset, a lot of the dormant parts of your psyche get unlocked.
Okay.
That's what happened to me.
Is that so? Would you mind?
Elaborating?
Yeah. I mean,
No.
just no.
Maybe for a future episode.
No.
you know?
Even just like a little.
Well, it's a lot deeper than that. But for me, I've come to realization, through sales, through the ability to be able to close and effectively bring like a crazy idea and realize, and bring that to fruition and realize that, holy shit, I can sell this.
Yeah.
And then being able to do it again and again and again and again, and build businesses out of it. But what I could tell you is, I agree with every single thing that you just said. Like, it makes you more confident. You're able to have more difficult conversations. You're able to kind of go out and do anything. But for me, it unlocked those layers and those levels for me where I was able to every
came out of
single
your
time.
shell kind of thing?
No. It's just not from like an introvert extrovert. Of course, that's a given.
Yeah.
But more about, I was able to do things that was like, if I were to think 10, 15 years before, and it wouldn't even be in my wildest imaginations that I would ever be able to achieve those.
Okay.
And it's like, you're able to push yourself so far out of the comfort zone and so far, like, push the envelope so far just because you have the ability to close and you have the ability to effectively tell somebody and convince them of your vision or your idea that you are the only believer on. You can package that and you can apply that to pretty much anything. And that,
I like
to
that.
me, is so like...
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that a lot. And I think like there's parts of what you said that have to do with like confidence. Like, wow, like I did that and I was able to do it. And now, like, once you get to a certain place, it's like, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to do? All right, let's go higher and higher, you know, and larger.
I mean, it started off at sales for me, and then it evolved into so many things. I mean, so many things that we're doing right now behind the scenes that we can't talk about. There's so many other things that we talk about on the daily. But none of those things would have been possible without the ability to know what you're capable of. I think it unlocks your full potential.
I think so.
And all the people that have that negative connotation that I once had, that, oh man, I don't really want to, I don't think you can ever be a successful like businessman. Like, I think all the successful businessmen that you see, these Elon Musk and everybody else, I mean, if they didn't do it, they got somebody to do it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think of like, you think about like Mark Cuban, right? I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. I like Mark Cuban.
Oh, me too.
But one of the things he said, or there's like certain like TikToks or like Instagrams or like these guys going up to people like, if you could go back 30 years, like what would be something you change?
Yeah.
And I saw one about Mark Cuban. He goes, nothing. He goes, the first thing I did was go into sales. Sales is the most important thing you can do as a young person who wants to go into business. He goes, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And I think that holds true.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's going to just open up so many doors, I think.
No, 100%. I mean, to put this in a nutshell, this is the last thing I say on this topic. I think, like, from what I was able to do 10 years ago and kind of like in the early stages of what you were doing and what you're doing now, even, I would say, like, you're at, let's say, the midpoint of where I was, what I'm doing now is so different. Like, it starts off at sales and it evolves into so much more.
Yes.
And you have no idea. But when I sit back and I think about it, when I have those deep moments, those long drives where I'm just, when you're in your thoughts and you're like, holy crap, this is when it was possible. For me, those moments were when the office was still at Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And when I had those 2-hour drives and I just had a 100K close and I just had like an 80K client, like, and I swear to God, the feeling that I would get on the drives in from Brooklyn, this 2-hour commute to my house in Long Island was absolute, like, it was an insane feeling. And it was, I can't ever match that. I don't even have words to describe it. And it was like, I can't believe this just happened. And I can't believe how things are about to change, you know, and the ability. But that was the beginning, and then there's so many other things that you're able to leverage that and that ability that you unlock. Layer,
I couldn't agree more, honestly. So I guess was that your kind of closing statement there on sales? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess as a summary here, the art of sales, I would say that if you're a young guy or girl that wants to, be a business owner, I'm talking if you're 18, 19, 20, a little bit older, or even if you're, way older than that, think about sales. Think about, all these things that we've spoken about. Think about how it can improve not only your career, but then also like maybe some things in your personal life. And, at the end of the day, be yourself. At the end of the day, do everything with integrity. And I think you'll like the results. I know, I can speak for Saj and myself. We both have. So
love that. So it's a good wrap. I think before you sign us off here, I want to shout out to, just kind of say that we hit we're almost at 1,000 downloads on Spotify.
Yes.
And we're
approaching 1,500 subs, I think.
On YouTube.
Yes.
And
shout out YouTube fam. Let's go.
Shout out YouTube fam. I know we've been slacking big time on TikTok and Instagram. That's because we were just super hectic and we're figuring things out in the back end with the team. But we're getting back there, and we'll be active again. But it was super exciting to see all of this stuff, and our inbox is really full with a lot of potential guests that want to come on.
Yes.
And we're trying to set that up. So the month of June is going to be really exciting. We're going to be bringing in people from like the music industry, a
lot of different walks of life.
Different walks of life. Some scientists. We've got some crazy, interesting
I don't know
people.
How much you want to say here.
Just a little
sneaky peeksy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's, I just want to say that Adventure Hustles. We're not
we're
just
hustling.
We're hustling. We're hustling, man, constantly.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to bring in different flavors and just be able to I cover as much as we can within the world of like startups, entrepreneurship, businesses.
Yeah, and as always, if there's any particular industry or even person, let's say, that you want us to potentially bring on, throw it in the comments. DM us. You can DM the Venture Hustles Instagram account, or even myself or Saj. We're both on Instagram.
We're also on Twitter.
Yeah, super active on Twitter for sure.
Yeah, shout out to my Twitter, and we should probably shout our Twitters out, right? At SARGCHANTE. I realize we've never done this before.
I've realized that I'm not sure I know the correct handle for my Twitter. So, I think, the editing team here can blast this on the screen. We'll put it in the...
Actually, Emil.
So my Twitter is below.
Like right on us. Let's put it right on Jack's, right above his head. That'd be really cool. But I say this is because Twitter is the only platform Venture Hustle is not on, but both me and you are on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, I would say like Instagram I'm active, but Twitter I'm like very active. We're very active, as you guys know, in like the NFT blockchain space. That's kind of where that industry, let's say, lives.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see us tweet a bunch of stuff. And again, like don't go off anything. That's not our financial advice.
Yeah, for sure. But I appreciate you bringing that up. Approaching 1.5 subs on YouTube, super exciting. We appreciate every single one of you that listen on a daily. And as always, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on iTunes, and really every single other platform you can think of. So like, subscribe, definitely comment. We see them, and we appreciate you guys. So until next time, enjoy.
Venture hustles, this is venture hustles. Turn nothing to something, start a business, get it jumping. Ay, told myself that I would make it, and I'm never quitting. Staying motivated, and I started with a vision. Yeah.